Blessings, Soul Family. This is Jules, and this is the Activate Evolution podcast. And I welcome you to spending these next few minutes with me as we kind of explore the topic of finding the root cause. This is a question that I've had come up a few times in the community or in the classroom, and it is a relevant question. And so I want to kind of approach it from the space of seeing root cause from the old paradigm and then inviting you into the experience of seeing a root cause in the new paradigm. So, a root cause is something that you'll hear often when we are doing any sort of healing process. And in the old paradigm, we want to go to the root cause so that we can clear all of the stuff that's on top of it. And I'm going to say that I definitely agree with that. But I also feel like it can entrap us into consistently searching for that one root cause that's going to solve all our problems. And that if we find the root cause, that we will heal instantly. So, from that perspective, I really caution going into a root cause. A root cause is normally, I mean, we can just kind of bypass all of it, is based in primal response, meaning that the root cause of everything that we have created in duality, or a space that we are creating an existence outside of reality. And I don't know if you can hear the thunderstorm in the background, but I do have a thunderstorm going on right now, and it's just so amazing. But so if you hear that, that's what the noise in the background is. But going back to the root cause is that, right now we are creating things in a space of lower reflection or a space of duality. And so anytime that we have something coming up in our life, we know that it's there for us to look at so that we can shift it into a higher frequency and bring it back into oneness or into expression, you'll hear me say. And we use consciousness, or the ability to see reflection, for information on things that we need to look at in order to bring it back into that space of alignment, that divine frequency that we all hold inside and have the ability to express. When we go to the root cause, really what we're looking at is the part of us that has made decisions or agreed to belief systems that are based on survival patterns. A lot of times you'll hear that the root cause is fear of death, but I'm even going to back it up just a little bit more, because truly, for some of us, death is actually the way out. And so it would be more the fear of suffering over the fear of death. So whichever one of those two it could be, you want to kind of look at that as the root cause. And then you can start to kind of go up into the frequencies of, where did I choose to believe in something because I was afraid that if I didn't, I would suffer, or I would lose my family, or I would be outcasted or abandoned. And all of those other things will come from that place. But really, what's underneath that is the fear of the suffering that it will cause. When we can start to see root cause as a space of primal instinct or primal decisions based on things that are either fed to us unconsciously, that we took on as a belief system when we were younger, or we are just in the collective and haven't awoken to the fact that we actually have a choice of whether or not we believe something. And this is where I think most people can get really challenged, because if we're believing in something that's already been created in form, then we're really limiting the ability to tap into the expression of that DNA technology that we actually have here to discover and to step into the experience of the frequencies that are held there. When we believe things like aging or death, or that we are based in this collectiveness where we are consistently being told what to do with manipulative patterns, and we are agreeing to those patterns, a wonderful example of this is being fed information to trigger a buying response, or being fed a manipulation in order to create fear, so that we're choosing from fear instead of what it is that we actually would choose if the fear response was taken away. Now you can see how root cause is based in that primal space, or as we continue to awaken, we can move it up into the space where we are choosing based on higher consciousness, meaning we are basing the decision on the alignment with the divine frequency within us, and we're allowing that frequency to move into expression through choice. When we look at root cause in the old paradigm, a lot of times we get stuck in that space of consistently looking for the next why we are the way we are. We are looking for the story to explain why we choose what we choose, or why we can't change when we know that we want to. Now let's bring root cause into the new paradigm. In the new paradigm, we use reflection just to gather information. When we trust that we are always going to be shown exactly what we need to see in order to shift into our highest potential, into the expression that is held in our very divine technology, our DNA, then we stop searching for the answers, because we will always be shown exactly what we need to see. This stops the searching. It stops the looking for the root cause in order to heal, knowing that healing is a process of evolving in consciousness. And when we are shown something, we know that it's there for information. It doesn't mean that we have to know why the information is there. All we have to know is that we were shown this because there's something in it that's out of alignment, or that needs to be seen. And of course, this doesn't mean that everything that we see is there to be seen. On a certain level, we can also discern, is this being shown to me for information because it's needing to be shifted into divine expression? There is a way that we can use reflection to actually advance in consciousness, because once we see what it is that's being shown, then we can reverse it, push it into the DNA expression, attune it to the divine frequency, and then move it into the expression of this frequency that is holding an intelligence. When we do that, we can use consciousness to attune to that frequency, and then receive information from that frequency that creates new thought patterns. This can be done on a cellular level, so that our body is actually holding the environment for this frequency to move into. Because guess what? Your consciousness is in the environment of your body. It's not just in the mind. When we do this on a consistent basis, we are continually raising in consciousness by attuning to the frequencies that we choose to do that inside out method, meaning we see what needs to be seen, we gather the information that is there, we move it into our cellular expression, and then we allow the divine frequency to hold a frequency outside of the program itself. And we can use that frequency to gather an intelligence that has information that can change thought form, bringing us out of the programming of our mind and into the experience of existing in expression. We take reflection to move into expression. And then we do it over and 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 we do it over again, until our body is holding more expression than it is reflection. And then we start to move over to the other side, to where we become the beautiful light beings that we actually are. Once we tip that 50% into 51%, it is a lot easier to use our expression over reflection. And at that point, we know Whatever is being shown to us is there to shift. And then it becomes a lot of fun because we can start to gamify reality in ways that we have never experienced before in the past. So going back to the question of, is it important to find the root cause? I'm going to say, if you are being shown something, see what it is that it's showing you in that moment. And in that moment, ask a few questions. Okay, I'm seeing this. Am I creating decisions based on the fear of what it is that this is that I'm seeing? So let's say you find out that you lost your job. And then all of a sudden you're seeing, wow, I lost my job. There's something here to be seen. And so a lot of times we go into this big story of, well, there's a reason I lost my job and I have to find the reason and the purpose. And oh my gosh, it's showing me something. And we go into this tailspin that we've done something wrong. And that's showing us that we lost our job. Or we'll go in the opposite space and say, oh, it has a purpose that I lost my job. And until I find that purpose, I'm not going to let go of the fact that I lost my job. And we stay stuck in the loop of the mind trying to figure out the why this happened to us. How about that you lost your job? And then in that moment, you just know that job is not in alignment with where I am right now. So I'm going to shift and move out of the frequency of my job. And I'm going to open the door for divine expression to move through me, to move into the expression of what my next is. And then I hold that frequency until it starts to show itself. And that can be where most people get hung up because they want to know right away, where am I going next? That's when we can start to look at all of the fear that was probably creating the job that you had before. The fear of not making it, the fear of not having enough, the fear of not having the money to feed the family, the fear of not being accepted. We can look at all of the fears that are wanting us to instantly move into another job, even if it's not at the frequency that we're actually holding. This is how we use reflection in order to create choices and expression. Because when we see those limiting beliefs and how they're playing out in our lives, we have a choice of whether or not we want to keep living them and repeating them. We can break the looping cycle. So in that moment, holding the abstract of just being okay with not knowing what the next step is, inviting that divine frequency to move into expression of our body, and then allowing our consciousness to move into that expression. It doesn't mean that we don't do anything, but we always make our first action step from the frequency of that expression, not the fear of whether or not we're going to make it. Those are two different experiences and they will create two different realities. This is how we all have the ability to move into our potential and then take action steps from our potential just by choosing the frequency of where we are acting from. You may do the exact same thing, but it's being done from a different place. And so the outcome will be very different. So I hope this helped as you explore root cause and how you're using it in your life. And I invite you into the experience of how we can use reflection for information and then attune to the expression of the frequency of our divine technology in order to create our highest potential and bring that potential into action and then create our best life. Sending you all so much love and a great big hug. And until we meet again, I invite you to go to activateevolution.com, join our community, and until then, go and live to your highest potential. Big hugs.